Hello everyone, welcome to TS Boomi Tech channel. Myself Abhinandan and I'm back with a new video. And here in the screen you can see my email address for any interview related queries or training related queries that can be addressed there. So please inbox me if you have any queries related to training and interviews. And on the right hand side, the offerings of these channels were listed out. Please go through it. So my today's content is only for interview related, like only the interview related questions will be discussed here. Okay, so I'm going to the next slide. Yeah, so my today's agenda would be, I will be covering few of the interview questions, and these interview questions are very frequently asked questions, and it is a very recent question. So when I say recent one, it is like a 3 months recent questions. And yeah, these interview questions were asked by repetitive MNC organizations or product based organizations. So it will be very helpful for you if you are going through these interview questions. And before going to the content, I am sincerely requesting you, so if you gain something by this channel or by this content, please go and subscribe it, and if you like this video, please hit like on this as well. Okay, so moving on to the interview questions. So I'm going to cover atom workers, like what is the significance of this atom worker and why this is important, and how the interviewers going to ask these questions when you are taking any interviews. And moving on to the next one, it is like low latency, general and bridge mode. So I'm going to briefly discuss about what is the key difference between them, and this is also one of the very frequently asked interview questions. And moving on to the next one, so the third one is like how to eliminate duplicate records from the document cache. So this is one of the interview questions where interviewers may ask you in a very tricky way, like how to eliminate duplicate records, and there are several answers for this as well, which we are going to cover in this video. And moving on to the next one, so this is also one of the other important interview question, like how to access repetitive data and how to prevent appearing repetitive data segments in the profile level. Okay, so when we are getting any repetitive content, like for example, if we are getting a number of invoice items which is getting repetitive, so how to accept that invoice items which is repetitive one and how to reject it. So in this question we are going to know. Okay, so these are the 4 pointers which I am going to cover as part of today's agenda. Okay, so moving on to the next slide, that is for atom workers. Okay, so atom workers, when this question is asked by the interviewer, so he might be a very tricky. Like first he will ask you about how can we enable atom workers in an atom. Okay, so please don't confuse at the time. So atom workers is not at all related to the atom. Atom workers we can only enable in the atom clouds. Okay, so we should be very sure and very confident while answering this question. So now we are going to see how these atom workers getting enabled in the atom cloud and all. So how we can answer this in an interview. Okay, so an atom worker is a reserved resource in Boomi atom cloud. So as just I said, it is only related to atom cloud. Only we can enable this atom worker in the atom cloud, that is, or in a private atom cloud, and this is dedicated to certain types of requests for a given account. Okay, so atom workers are available only for atom clouds, not for a single tenant like molecules or atoms. So when I say atom, it is a local atom. So it is not at all related to a molecule or local atoms. Okay, and yeah, the next pointer is we can enable atom workers to improve the performance. For example, if we have a high volume of data coming in from the source system or any low latency are required, so in those cases we can use this atom worker. Okay, and coming to the atom clouds and atom workers, that run of them, like those will use the forked execution. Okay, which means that each process executes in a separate JVMs. They are not compatible with the multi-thread option. So when I say atom worker, so if any interviewer asks you how the atom worker works in a atom cloud, so then you can say like atom workers will be enabled in the atom cloud and it will use forked executions. While if we are running any process in particular atom cloud, so if the atom worker is already enabled, then it will use forked execution to execute that particular process. Okay, and there are few connectors that we can use atom workers. So I am going to list out those connectors as well. So AS2 shared server connector, where we can use atom worker, we can enable it, and atom queue connector. As you know, the atom queues, it is one of the messaging queue where we can send and receive the messages. So we have some types of atom queues like Kafka queues or JMS queues. So we have like internal and external queues. So for those also we can enable the atom worker. Next, flow services server also we can use, and JMS server, MDM listener also can be used, atom worker, and Microsoft Azure Service Bus, MLLP server, Salesforce platform events, and SAP connector. So these are all the connectors where we can use atom workers. So that's all about the atom workers, but we have to double sure that whenever this question is asked by an interviewer, first we need to keep 2 points in our mind. That one is atom worker is only dedicated to atom cloud, and second one is it will use the forked execution. So if we provide this kind of information, then that is fair enough. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. There is another connector as well, that is web service server connector, which will use atom kernel. So moving on to the next question, this is about low latency, general and bridge mode. So these are the process option where if we build something on the build page, where first we are going to select the process option, how we are going to build that process. Either we are building in a general mode, or either we are building in a low latency mode, either we are building in a bridge mode. Okay, so moving on to the low latency mode. So this low latency option for processes like greatly increases the speed which a process executes by not logging every state of the process. So what you have to tell about this low latency mode, whenever the low latency is enabled, okay, if as a process option, if we select the low latency mode, then that logs will not be tracked, where we cannot see the logs of that particular execution. If we go in a process reporting and check the logs, we are unable to see that. Then interviewer may ask you about, suppose I want to check those logs, then what can be done? Okay, then you can answer in such a way that you have to face the interviewer's question, like only we can see the execution in a real-time dashboard. Okay, either it is failed or successful, we can check that in a real-time dashboard, Boomi real-time dashboard. And suppose if we want to track the logs, there is another way, but that is only workable solution for HTTP modes, where we need to send debug in a HTTP connector, client connector, as a header, in where that will convert low latency mode to the process like the general mode. Okay, but if we enable in any process as a low latency mode, we are unable to track the logs. Okay, so this is about the low latency mode. Next, we are going for a general mode. In a general mode, so if we choose an option, process option as a general mode, where we can track the logs and as well as we can check the detailed documents as well. Okay, so this is about the general mode. And coming to the bridge mode, in a bridge mode we can only see the logs but not the documents. This is the key difference between the low latency, general and bridge mode. So we need to very confident by telling this to an interviewer. Okay, so these are the pointers about low latency, general and bridge mode. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, how to eliminate duplicate records in a document cache. Okay, so there are two ways where we can eliminate the duplicate records from the cache. First of all, we need to know about the cache, like why we use the cache. Okay, cache, document cache is used to store the documents, as you all aware, I guess. Okay, where we can enable, we can set the indexes where we can use the document cache to store the documents. Okay, so suppose if you have the requirement like only unique record needs to be passed to the document cache. Okay, so in that case what we have to do, suppose if we are dealing with the flat file or database profile, okay, then we need to identify the particular unique field and we need to check that unique field as an enforced unique as this checkbox is checked. Okay, then that particular unique field, if we have or if we encounter any of the duplicate records, if we select the enforced unique in a particular field, only unique records will be sent to a target system. Okay, and this approach won't work in the other profiles like JSON and EDI. So I am talking about only the enforce unique option. In this case, only flat file and database profile has this option, not a JSON or other profiles like EDI. Okay, this is option number 1. Okay, and we are going to see what is the option number 2. Okay, so this is one of the option number 2. So first, before going to eliminate the duplicate records, we need to apply one of the mechanism. First, suppose if we have any of the like XML data, first we need to split the data by using a data process, and then we need to send the documents individually by using flow control shape. Okay, and then when I select a flow control, only one document will be sent at one time, okay, individually. Then there is a decision shape also should be in place. This decision shape checks whether the cache user ID is equal to blank or not. Okay, suppose if we are splitting the data by using one of the field called user ID. Okay, in the data process shape, just we have split it, and again using flow control we sent document individually, and then we are again checking decision shape. Okay, we are checking like that user ID is equal to blank or not. Okay, if it is a true, then it will hold the documents, and if it is a false means there is a no duplicate document found here, and it is getting stored in a document cache. So this is one of the other way where you can play around to eliminate the duplicate documents. Okay, so these two options you can explain when you get this interview question, like how to eliminate duplicate records in a document cache. Okay, and then I'm going to the next slide. Yeah, so here while splitting, what is the configuration of the decision shape that I have used? I just provided the screenshot here. Okay, this is the configuration that I have used for a decision shape. Okay, then moving on to the next slide. Yeah, so as I said, how to access the repetitive data and how to prevent the repetitive data occurring in this data segments. Like, what does it mean here? It means, suppose if we are getting the invoice order data as an input as an XML. Okay, so for that particular order we have multiple line items. There is a possibility that we have a duplicate line items as well. Okay, so in that case your question would be how to avoid the duplicate segments. Suppose if I am getting two duplicate line items for a particular order, let's say that order contains 10 records. Out of 10 there is a 2 duplicate line items, but in my target system that only require unique line items. Okay, that is your requirement. Then how you can implement this situation using profile configuration side. Okay, so there is an option in the profile level for every field, max occurs and looping option. So when I select the max occurs in unbounded and looping option is occurrence. So there is a max occur, if I select as an unbounded, then which means if we are getting the line items data, okay, which contains multiple data segments or multiple, let's say, history. Okay, so that will accept as an unbounded records. Okay, coming to the looping options, when I select the looping option as an occurrence, okay, so what will happen? So I'm going to explain this in a just a minute, guys. Yeah, so I'm going to explain this further. Okay, so what is max occurs unbounded? Which means if the same document has multiple XML documents under a single root, like below, okay, all are looped and processed by the map, right? So let me provide you a screenshot as well. Okay, coming to the looping option. So looping option, when I select as an occurrence, what will happen? If the same XML document or item is repeated second time, the XML document which has all the XML documents under the same root, then they will also consider process by the man. So here when I select max occurs as an unbounded, suppose if we are getting the data, okay, which is having multiple XML documents, okay, so that all multiple documents will be looped. Okay, this is what happens if I select max occurs as unbounded. Okay, so coming to the looping option, so if I select looping option as an occurrence, okay, suppose if I am having one XML documents which is having like multiple line items getting repeated, so if I select looping option as an occurrence, then this will be processed by the map, which means the multiple line items will be sent it across to a target system. Okay, so I am also taking one of the example to understand in a better way. Okay, so consider the XML document here. Okay, so there is a root element order and there are multiple line items, like book 21 is one of the multiple line item, and book 22 is another line item, and book 22 is another line item. So here if you could see under the order we have a duplicate line items, like book 22 is repeated twice, okay, where the quantity price also getting repeated. So this item is also processed in this scenario. Okay, so if I select the looping option and the max occurs, looping option and max occurs, then in this case the output should be, you get the repetitive content from the to the target side. Okay, so here in this case the repetitive data, which means duplicate data, sent it across to a target system. Okay, so that is our scenario, how we are sending the repetitive content to a target system. Now we are going to see the repetitive content should be eliminated. Okay, when there is a book 22, in another scenario that book 22 only one line item should be sent it across to a target system. That is our next requirement. Okay, so moving on to the other slide. So if I select the max occurs as an unbounded and looping option as a unique. Okay, so as I explained in earlier, like if we select as an unbounded, like multiple XML documents getting looped, that's what it will do. And coming to the looping option as an occurrence, here looping option should be a unique here. Okay, so if we select a unique looping option, only a unique related line items will be passed through a content. Okay, so how this is going to be implemented, so I have shown one of the example in my next slide. Moving on to the other slide. Yeah, so here you can see, so there is an XML data which is containing order related data, and there are multiple line items, book 21, book 22, book 22 again. Okay, so if I select max occurs and unbounded and looping option as occurrence, this is how it happens. Like if I select looping option as occurrence, then one of the duplicate item will be removed here. This won't be processed to a target system side. So this is how we can eliminate one of the duplicate line items. Okay, So that's how, guys, like the repetitive content, how can be eliminated, how this can be sent it across to a target system. This is what I explained now. Okay. So these are the 4 interview questions I have presented here. So please follow my videos and subscribe it. So in my next videos I will be coming up with the new interview questions. Okay, so if you follow the interview question videos, like, then it will be very helpful for you. And as I said, these are the very recent interview questions. It will help you a lot to crack the interview. Okay, so if you gain something with this video, this interview video, please hit a like, so that it will be helpful for me to prepare more videos. Okay, please like and comment as well, like if you have any interview questions or anything that needs to be presented here, please put it in a comment section, so that I will review it and see if I can prepare a video for that and post it. Yeah, thank you guys, thanks for your time for this.